Peace, peace. Johnny Gonzalez, aka Upside Down Consciousness, on Instagram, TikTok. I wanted to post a quick video on my Facebook because I'm not active on my Facebook. I think, to be honest, the only traffic my Facebook has is through Instagram. Whatever stories or posts I put onto Instagram, I believe they pop up on here. I don't know if in like a post mode or if just in a story. I'm not too sure. I need to look into that. But nonetheless, I wanted to give you an opportunity to tap in with me on YouTube, which will be accessible through Upside Down Consciousness and Johnny Gonzalez on YouTube. And the topics of discussion on there are going to be unlike anything that I do on my Instagram and Facebook platforms. Because as you all know, my profession is as a health detoxification and trainer. Those are the key elements of what and who I have become as a career and as like a pathway in life. And like it was for health reasons, it wasn't until I got sick and I started going to the doctors and the doctors couldn't find a solution. And so they put me on medication. They sent me to specialists, and I was on that circle, that hamster wheel for a period of time until finally I said, you know what? Nah, this is ridiculous. I'm going to figure this out for myself. And that led me to obviously go plant-based, obviously get more informed with the body, more informed with how the systems of the body operate, what is real health, what is real nutrition. And from that opened up a whole different portal of realization, coming from standard American diet, eating whatever, whenever, no literacy of what health was, no comprehension of what nutrition was. But through time, through adjustments, through transition, through sacrifices, through redirection, obviously now I can literally say that I know enough in health to be never influenced by anybody else, or also not be clueless to my own health, regardless of what it may be. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say my health is perfect and that I'm a vessel of pure energy and light. I won't say that shit because, I spent half of my life basically eating incorrectly, living incorrectly, and so you have to kind of like pay up. You gotta, you have a unpaid tab that you have to take care of before you move on, and that's what the detox process is really about. It's about figuring out where you're at with your health and then fixing it. And then when you start to recognize that, what do I got to do to fix it? It becomes more about knowledge. It becomes more about, well, what do I have to do in order to make these corrections and to assist me and to put me in a position to heal whatever condition that I'm going through. And that comes with knowledge. And this is why, look at every single day I look at this. I'm going to flip my camera. Hold on one second. Every single day I see this in front of me. This reminds me, I don't know shit if I take and look at the body at just the skin and just what my eyes can perceive. And that's what we do in today's day and age, is we evaluate someone by how they look. We don't even consider the systems in the body and the organs in the body and the passages of energy through our body, which is really crazy if you really stop and think about it, because obviously we're put in a position that, well, once we get to a decent age, we start taking care of ourselves. We start making decisions for our own health based off of whatever environment or information we have received, being that our world is obviously not where it should be, especially in the field of health. And because of that, we find ourselves passing on unhealthy lifestyles that control our environment and our society, and along with that keeps us becoming sicker faster, dying slower, addicted to foods and drink and medication, instead of actually going through a process of healing, which the body is more than capable of doing. And you see, we never learned this information, so when we're introduced to it, there's almost a pushback because we really just have never heard this stuff before. And this was a big eye-awakening moment, at least for me, through my transition over the past 10 plus years, is that it's not hard, it's very easy, but the problem is that we've just been led in the wrong direction so far that turning around and having to think about walking back it's not worth it. And so with this information, it's like, well, if someone tells you, because you got diagnosed with cancer, right, that if you don't make these adjustments, then you're gonna basically be subjected to what they're gonna recommend, and what they're gonna recommend is drastic, if I may say so myself. They're gonna recommend a form of medication or a procedure that is experimental. They're going to pull something out of your body. They're going to give you a high amount of poison flushed into your system. That's the path that you go if you go down that way. All right? And we're not taught to go down another way. We're not taught to realize that our body is actually the creation of our Creator. And with that ability comes unconscious, subconscious, spirit, God, that operates that system. Our conscious mind doesn't operate our system. Can we agree on that? You don't tell your body to do this or do that, or transfer this over here, take this out, move this, I need this. Our conscious mind is not aware of all of that. We may be aware of maybe breathing and maybe blinking and maybe using our hands and our feet and our means of sensory visions, our vision, our hearing. We may have control over those things, but the actual totality of the system, we don't have control over that. So something else has to have control over that. And what I'm implying is that that's God. That's God that does that. We are in partnership with Him individually. And because of that, it allows us to connect. If we look at it from this perspective, this is all foundational. These things that I'm talking about, this is foundational, but it's not foundational for the normal person. And I feel it should be. I really do. And I know that a lot of us we're not in a position to want to change and not want to sacrifice things that we're so accustomed to doing and living and being in that space where transferring out of that, giving things up that I've done my whole life, it's not worth it. And that's okay. At this point in time in my life, I'm like, bro, sis, fam, I love you. It's okay. It's okay. No matter what you choose to do, that's on you. No one else, not your closest family member, not the person that loves you the most. It's on no one else but us individually and our relationship with our God, whatever that is for you. There's no wrong answer in this. And that's really powerful if you stop and think about it. And that should make you feel safe. It should make you feel safe knowing that no matter what happens in life, that relationship that you have with God, that's more important than anything else. It doesn't matter what you're going through. And I know that this transferred to a little bit of a different topic, but it all connects though. And when you've been on this path long enough, you're never going to be the same person that you were. And that is something that is almost a miraculous thing to really look at it from that perspective. You're not the same person you were 10 minutes ago, a day ago, a year ago, 10 years ago, because we're constantly learning, we're constantly growing, we're constantly evolving, and we're constantly devolving, just depending on your life, your awareness, your health, your comprehension of what you believe to be your reality, because it's all individual. We're all collectively living our own main character's role in life. And so the idea here from my angle is I believe and truly feel that everybody should have that complete understanding to be healthy, to be financially independent, to be in a state of mind where they know that whatever I'm going through in life, it's not going to alter and spiral me down to self-destruction. It's going to allow me to transmute whatever negative energies that are in my life or that come into my life. I'm going to be able to transmute them to positive principles and positive aspects for fuel, basically. And with that comes the ability to then achieve anything that you want. Now, how do we get there? Well, you can't get there if you don't know this information. And so this is where it's like, oh, well, we have to have the groundwork. And once we have the groundwork, then we can start connecting the pieces. That's why when I only looked at it from the health perspective, it was very challenging to relate to anybody else because not everybody wanted to know about health. But then I realized, well, if you focus on the mind and you focus on your thinking patterns and you focus on your standpoint in life, you start learning about what it is to actually be completely independent. Now, we may look at independency in a minimal way, but what if I tell you right now, you're probably gonna have to stop and think about this. What if I tell you and ask you this simple question, and I'm like, are you a U.S. citizen? Are you a U.S. citizen? You live in America? Are you a U.S. citizen? And obviously, if you live in America, you're gonna be like, what do you think, bro? Of course I'm a U.S. citizen. Proudly, like kind of stuck up a little bit, like what? Well, hey, well, what's the definition for a U.S. citizen? What do you mean? Well, what's the definition? Like, if you look at a law book, if you look at anything that references a U.S. citizen, what is the definition for it? What rights do you have as a U.S. citizen? What rights do you not have when you're recognized as a U.S. citizen? Do you get granted privileges and benefits? And these are questions that if you're going to take on a role of being subjected, of being called something, you should probably have a little bit more insight about what it is that you're recognized as. And see, this is where 2019, August 1st, 2019, I got introduced to this shit. And it happened so fast, and damn, it was literally, what are we, 2025 now? Like, damn, it's been that long, and it doesn't even seem like that. But I got a fast track into the judicial system quick. I got fast track into an agency saying, hey, you know what, we have authority to take your kids, and we're going to do so. We have the authority that we're going to administer them medication without your consent because we're going to do so. We're going to detain him. We're going to get a protective order, and you got to go to court in order to see your babies. So obviously, in that position, not having no comprehension about anything, it puts you in a position where, like, well, now what? So then you go through it, and then you start realizing things, and then you start seeing things, and then imagine after that getting arrested and charged with a felony for something that you didn't do. And it's, how does this even happen? Now, that's where this whole, as I said, before I was only health related, only focused on the health and nutrition and the training, really small window, a little bubble here. But when I got thrown in a completely different bubble, then all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, I don't know shit about none of this stuff that they're talking about. They want to give me an attorney. They want me to do this. They want me to sign these papers. They want me to read all this stuff about what they're saying and accusing and whatnot. Like, whoa, this is a lot of information right here. And then that's when it's like, okay, well now they're charging you with a crime from where? Like I don't even know what the hell that means. So then obviously you got to pick up, well, here, look at this. You got to look at the California Penal Code. And then it's like, whoa, now you're introduced to all this stuff. And then at some point in time, that's where my path kind of got diverted a little bit, a lot actually. But from all of that, I've gained so much information and so much knowledge in relation to freedom and sovereignty and protecting ourselves, protecting our kids, protecting our assets. Anybody here ever, let me ask this question. Anybody here have a private trust? Is your family and your assets put in a living trust? Do you know that if you're a US citizen, all of these agencies, these departments, the IRS, the police departments, the sheriff departments, all of these corporations, they're operating in a system called commerce, okay? And in that system, it's all commercial based. It's all corporations communicating with corporations. Now, a corporation cannot communicate with a living man or woman. So in order to bypass that, they had to create something. They had to create a corporation. So when you go to the hospital and you have a baby, what's the first thing that the nurses try to do? What do they try to do? Ma'am, we're going to need you to fill this birth certificate out. So a woman just gave birth to a 9-pound baby, and the first thing that they focus on is telling you, we're going to need you to get a birth certificate. Why would that be so relevant at a time of giving birth? Why would that be so relevant? And so then it begs to differ to look at it now from this angle, which I'm gonna explain it to you. When that birth certificate was created, that created a bond, that created a security, and with that security created your principal. They call it a straw man. And from that corporation, now that's your game piece on the game of life. Like in Monopoly, you know how you get the hat, you can get the car, you can get the doggy, you can get, whatever else pieces they have, thumbnail or the little thing on your thumb. So that's your game piece in life. So now I want you to go get your credit card right now. Pull out your credit card, pull out your driver's license, grab a bill near you, grab anything that is coming, any mail you have from any agency, from any corporation. It doesn't matter. Any statement, it doesn't matter. Look at your name on that, okay? What do you notice about your name? It's in all caps. So that's your Enlegis. That is a fictitious corporation created, which is bonded, and now that game piece is what you'll be recognized and used for in your life as you play the game of life, which is commerce. Okay, when you go get a job and you got to fill out your IRS taxes and you got to do all your reporting and you have to go get a driver's license, you have to go get a marriage license, and you have to go get you're participating in, you want to be a barber, or you want to, it doesn't matter. You got to go get a license or a certification for that. Now, all of that interaction that you're doing, I'm going to go get a credit card, I'm going to go get an account, all of that, all of the transactions, the consumer transactions that you're participating in is using your straw man, okay? So that entity is separate from you. It's not you, it's separate from you. Now, this right here is where the confusion happens, because going back now to the beginning where I said, okay, well, why is it so important that we get a birth certificate and we get a social security number immediately? What's the purpose of that? The purpose is because that now you're now considered a surety for that entity. And now that entity can be basically, I know it sounds like, and I was hoping not to get too deep, because I realized that at some point when people watch this is already going to make your head spin, and it's a lot of information, but fuck it, whatever, we're going to do it anyways. So we really just have to just have to stop and realize that we've been gypped. Y'all know that I talk very deeply about health. I'm very, very informative. I study the systems of the body. I know how everything works inside of your body, to the details of the way a goddamn fart smells tells me information. So that's intense. Like, I've done a lot of due diligence to be where I'm at comprehension wise when it comes to health. That's why I can say, I don't care what fucking disease you have or whatever cancer you have or whatever you're diagnosed with, it makes no difference. It makes no difference. I'll tell you in 30 minutes everything you need to do to heal whatever it is you're dealing with. That fast. But see, here's the problem. Motherfuckers don't want to do the work. I'll give you the information. If you want me to go put a goddamn diaper on, do my hair like really fancy and nice, and go rent a little white cloud, and you want me to propel myself from the damn rooftop and come into you with a high beam light flashing on me as baby Jesus, and give you a golden fucking Bible that tells you how to literally take care of your health, I'll do that for you. And you can heal yourself from anything. It doesn't matter what it is. It makes no difference. But see, I didn't gain this confidence overnight, obviously. It didn't come from working with myself or working with one person. It came with practice. It came with more information being downloaded. Me seeing clients go through different stages of detoxification, go through different processes that, like, oh, I can see how this makes sense. Oh, this makes more sense now that I started to really break down the endocrine system. Now I can see how it correlates with your eyes, and I can see where this translates. And all this information, which is a lot, it takes time to really process it. And that is where I'm at currently with this whole position of, you know, damn, we're supposed to be free. We're supposed to live off the commandments of God. And so when you look at life like that, it's like, okay, how can another man or woman that wears a costume to work every day tell me how fast I can drive? Like, why is that so important? Like, how can I get pulled over and charged for a crime for not having a registration? Okay, how does that work? How can you get a bill in the mail from the IRS saying you got to pay X amount of money when taxes are voluntary? You don't have to pay taxes. So do you see how this is when you start learning this information, things don't add up. And I'm a real sensible type of dude here. Make it make sense to me. If you make it make sense to me, I'm going to hear you out. I'm going to hear you out. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to say, okay, let me hear your information. But I'm going to put it through a filtering system, and I'm going to, if I need to look further into it, if I need to expand on it a little bit more, but I'm going to make it make sense for me based off of where I'm at. And see, that's where that right there is challenging for a lot of people, I believe. And so it makes it that much more difficult when it doesn't have to be. You know, we're so outwardly distracted that sometimes we don't even realize our own emotions and our own processing things that are occurring within us. And because of that, it makes it challenging to adapt, to change, because that's what it comes down to, is a lot of us just don't want to change. We don't want to, you know, we don't want our life to be rattled too much. It's just, you know, I've been doing this for my whole life already, and, you know, you're telling me I don't have to pay bills with money. That's too much. I can't do that. No, I got to do this, or I got to read that. And no, that doesn't sound right. It doesn't, I just don't understand. I don't understand. Okay. I respect that. I still love you. It makes no difference. I'm not going to force this on anybody. That's why I don't really talk about a lot of this stuff publicly. Which leads me to what I was originally coming on to do before I got on this little rant. I was like, I'm going to give myself 10 minutes real quick. But that's how it goes, though. So, YouTube. All right, check me out on YouTube. On YouTube, I'm going to start dropping a lot of videos pertaining to the aspect of commerce, the aspect of sovereignty for each of us, the foundational principles of law, the foundational principles of how to operate in the private, having a comprehension of knowing the difference between public and private. And with all of that, hopefully, we're going to turn some light bulbs on for a lot of people. And people will be able to make their own judgment based off of their own due diligence of research and investigation. Fact check anything I tell you, because that's what I would do. Nothing I say or will ever say will be an intentional lie or a deceitful word to try to convince someone to believe me or to follow in my direction. That's not me at all. And a lot of people believe things based off of their own mind. And so that sometimes has to be identified, because sometimes we take things personal based off of how a person responds or how a person acts towards us, when in fact we don't need to, because what that person does or how another person treats you or how another person talks to you, that's based off of their perception of reality in their own minds. They'll never overlap. And I know we think that they overlap, but they don't overlap. Someone that's treating you like shit, that's cussing at you and hurting you, only affects you if you allow it to affect you. Now that is very rash. I get that. Yes, I'm not trying to be mean or hurt anybody's feelings. I'm not saying that go and do that and that's okay, because there's karma. That shit comes right back around. You put energy out, that energy is going to come right back to you. So be careful, be cautious of that. But in regards to this, it's just that ability to comprehend information and that ability to recognize things as they're happening, to either pursue it, reject it, put a stop to it, or make adjustments on the fly. And so that's kind of more or less where I'm headed with my YouTube channel. I do have other material on there that's more health related and whatnot, but like I said, I'm going to be devoting a lot of time to my YouTube for my study sessions, books that I read, information that I'll be presenting. Like I said, you go down this rabbit hole, it's pretty intense. That's all I'll say. And I believe that each of us are entitled to it. I'm not no gatekeeper. I tell people and offer my services and my assistance without charge, because as of right now, I have all the information. I've been downloading this information for years. I just haven't moved to outreach to assist people, because I just personally don't feel, I'm not saying I don't feel confident in myself. It's just that I want to make sure that I know enough to be like, you know what, I really feel like this could assist. I'll tell people where to look. I'll tell people, hey, you know what, this guy knows a lot more than I do. I'll point you in the right direction. But to sit here and be like, do this, this, and this, that's not me. That's not me. When I get to that level, I'll be that person. But right now, that's not me. In health, like I said, you can hit me up for health and tell me you got this, this, and this. I'm going to be like, I got you, fam, no problem. You're probably going to have to pay a penny for it, but that's the reality of life. I know that if you go to a doctor and you're taking all these medications and you have to pay insurance fees and you have to do this and you have to do that, that shit adds up real quick. You got to go to the hospital, you got taken to the ER, now you got all these bills. That shit adds up a lot really quickly, especially if you're on medication, bro. If you're on medication right now, fam, come on, for reals. If you're in Tulare County and you are in a position with your health, even if you're just fucking obese and overweight, because that's a health condition too, okay? But if you're sick or you're struggling with your mental health or you're struggling with inspiration to just live and you're always negative and you're always angry and you're depressed and you don't feel loved, all of that, family, there's a solution for you in your back door. You come and you train and you learn from HPA, we'll set you up for life. Wherever you're at, it makes no difference. But Jesus says it. Jesus puts things into perspective when you look at the fact that why was it necessary to leave your hometown to preach the word of God. I'm just going to put that out there. So not one person that I know, maybe I have maybe 3 people that I know on a level of communicating with that would say what I'm about to say right now. And that is that everything is healable, everything is treatable, and you could have perfect health. And I'm not even going to play you for a fool. I'm going to be like, okay, if you think I'm wrong, I want you to read the book Physical Fitness by Arnold Ehret. And in that book, he says something that always stuck with me. And he said, disease is an experiment. This man had so much confidence that he would go and he would live shitty, eat whatever, and he'd get sick. He'd take it all the way to the very end. Self-destruction, gluttony, to kill himself. And then he would reverse it. So in that book, he says, disease is an experiment. And that always has stuck with me. That confidence of knowing that it doesn't matter where you're at, you can truly, honestly, faithfully be changed, be purified. Isn't that what being baptized is about? Isn't that you're being reborn? Things start to make a little bit more sense when you start to think a little bit deeper. But that's what YouTube is for. So check me out on YouTube. I've been on here for too long. Blazed up, so you know how that goes. Peace and love, though. Peace and love.